Hey everyone, in this video I want to talk about a mindset or really a mental exercise that's helped me make better decisions in literally every aspect of my life. So I call the framework listening to ideal 100-year-old me. Others might call it extending your timeline, but the idea is the same. Basically, whenever I'm faced with making a decision and I'm unsure about what I should choose, I consult my ideal 100-year-old self. Because the way I see it, ideal me at 100 years old, if I live that long, can give me advice for my exact situation. Ideal me at 100 years old can look back on their life, my life, to tell me exactly what they did when they were in my shoes. So I literally just pull out my phone or a piece of paper and I start having a conversation with my ideal 100-year-old self. I ask them what they would do if they were in my situation, and then I answer the question as if I was 100 years old and had lived the life that I wanted to live. If you try it, you'll realize how much clarity it'll give you. More often than not, I think that we know what we need to do in a given situation, but it's just that we need some kind of validation to let us know that we're on the right track. And this mental exercise allows you to get that validation from yourself. I know nowadays with social media, people say that external validation is bad, and to some extent, I do agree with that. But if you think about it, validation is a really important part of being human. It's how we learn, it's how we build relationships, and it's how we survive. Think back to when you were a child. The way you learned anything was by something either validating or invalidating your existing belief at the time. For example, as a kid you might have thought a stove was fun to play with, then you touched it and got burnt. That feedback of experiencing pain invalidated your existing belief at the time, which was that playing with the stove was fun. It taught you that the stove actually isn't fun to play with, and that's how you learned not to do that again. So I see this exercise of speaking to my ideal 100-year-old self as a way to organize the information that I already have and gain clarity. It takes advantage of our human need for validation, but in a way that serves us and not other people. Now, if you don't like the idea of speaking to your ideal future self and asking them for advice because you think it's delusional, well, that's fair. You can also just think about what would serve you best in the long term. You define whatever your version of long term is. It can vary based on the nature of the decision you're making. For example, say you're trying to lose weight and you're debating eating a donut versus eating an omelet for breakfast. Long term in this situation could be you 6 months from now. But if you're trying to decide whether you should become a physician or a lawyer, long term in this context could be 30 years from now. So once you've defined what long term is given the decision you're currently faced with, it's just a matter of asking yourself, which choice serves me best long term? And when I answer that question honestly, I know what I need to do. So this reveals where I think the true power of this mindset lies. I think this mindset of doing what serves you best long term is most powerful when long term means the rest of your life for every decision you make. And I know it can seem really annoying to always think and act long term. It's as if it takes away from living in the moment and doing things spontaneously. I understand that, but I also disagree with it. Look, I've been implementing this mindset for almost 4 years now, and it's not as depressing as you might think. The reason is because fundamentally, what serves you best long term is different from what serves me best long term. You and I could have very different outlooks on life, and that's kind of the point. It's not like you're acting in accordance with someone else's version of what your life should look like. By always thinking and acting long term, thinking about what serves you, your goals, and your values, you're prioritizing yourself. You're prioritizing what you want and intentionally designing your life with the choices you make instead of just letting it happen to you. You're essentially taking control of your life. After adopting this mindset and going through the exercise of speaking to my 100-year-old self several times now, I've gained a lot of clarity over what I want long term, of what I know will serve me for the rest of my life. So every day, with every decision that I make, I do my absolute best to always choose what will serve me for the rest of my life. Part of what I know will serve me long term is taking fantastic care of my health. That's why I don't drink alcohol. That's why I eat minimally processed foods. That's why I exercise for longevity and athleticism instead of trying to look like a bodybuilder. I also know that long term I want to be able to work on what I'm passionate about, which is why I started the Healthy Kangaroo, so that I can share what I learn about health and happiness based on my own experiences with all of you. And yeah, oftentimes in order to prioritize what serves you long term, you'll have to give up things that only benefit you in the short term. One of the worst examples of this I've seen online are fitness influencers who preach that as long as you count your calories and hit your macros, that you can eat whatever you want and look jacked. Now that is true, but it's also terrible for your long-term health. Just because you look healthy doesn't mean you actually are. If you eat a bunch of crap but count your calories, sure, you might not accumulate much visible fat, but you will accumulate what's called visceral fat. This is the fat that surrounds your organs, and when it accumulates at high levels, it leads to issues like heart attacks. And if you eat a bunch of junk, no amount of calorie tracking will prevent this from happening. So sure, you can eat whatever you want and look jacked, but that only serves you short term while you're young and trying to get a partner. But long term, it can ruin your life. So by choosing to do what's more difficult, which is eating a very clean diet and tracking your calories, you'll not only look healthy, but you'll actually be healthy. It might seem hard and unnecessary short term if that's all you think about. But when you zoom out and think long term, you realize how much more difficult your life is going to be if you keep doing what's easy right now. The same thing can be said for relationships. If instead of thinking, do I like this person, you instead ask, can I see myself marrying this person in the future? Do we have the same values? If the answer is no, then don't date them. You'll save both of you a lot of time and heartache. But if the answer is yes, then obviously give it a shot. Hopefully you can see the point that I'm trying to make. By doing your best to always act in accordance with what will serve you for the rest of your life, you're prioritizing yourself, you're intentionally designing the life you want with the choices you make, and as a result, you will get what you want long term. So I hope that was valuable. If it was, I'd really appreciate you joining our weekly newsletter where we send out the written versions of these posts before the videos are published. As always, take care of your health and it will take care of you.